Hey there, welcome to From the Logo. I'm Kirby, that's Riley and Colton. Thank you guys so much for watching. Last week we did a MVP candidate video about SGA, and there was a little bit of drama over the last couple days between him and the man that we're going to do the video on, MVP candidate video on this week, Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. After the game, Edwards was quoted as saying he's really hard to defend because you can't touch him. They will call every foul on him. And SGA clapped back saying they don't talk about my post game, they talk about my post game, which I thought was a pretty clever little remark to make. So we got a budding rivalry between these two young, super talented guards on the two best teams currently in the West as far as standings go. Do you guys think that Anthony Edwards should be in the MVP conversation? I mean, they're the best team in the West right now, and he is probably the major catalyst. They've got obviously a lot of talent. Their defense is very good, but he's definitely the offensive catalyst of the team. What do you guys think?
I think he should be in the conversation. I don't think he should be the odds-on favorite by any means, but the fact is that he's the best player on a team that's vying to be the best team in the NBA right now. And without him, they would not look nearly as good as they do. He's scoring extremely well, but he's so energetic and he's so fast, and the way that he draws attention and confuses defenses is pretty impressive. We've watched him a few times over the last couple weeks. Kirby and I were both remarking about the fact that the way that he plays and the way that he moves, it looks like really just a handful of other excellent players over, our lifetime. Guys like
Like
Dwayne Wade and
MJ and Kobe level
yeah,
players is what we're
MJ,
talking about
Kobe,
here.
Dwayne Wade, and he definitely doesn't have that level of finishing ability yet, but he definitely moves with that kind of energy and that kind of confidence. And defenses just straight up collapse when he charges down the floor toward them. So yeah, I definitely think he should be in the conversation just because of how well his team's doing and the fact that they wouldn't be doing it without him. Uh, but yeah, it's great. It's a good thing for the NBA that we have two good, talented young teams with good, talented young guards that don't seem to like each other very much. I hope it keeps up.
I'm going to quote a certain person on this podcast. Tell me if you've heard this before. The MVP should go to the best player on the best team.
Jason
So,
Tatum?
well, currently, yes. Riley always says the MVP should go to the best player on the best team. Now, the Timberwolves are a couple games back from the Celtics. Celtics are 33 and 10 at this current stage. The Timberwolves are 30 and 12. That's pretty close. If the Timberwolves can pull ahead of the Celtics, it's going to be interesting to see with them having the best record in the league, not, more of a serious push to have Anthony Edwards become the MVP. I think that kind of like I was talking about with SGA last week, the fact that, the Timberwolves have a good roster around them might be why. Edwards is not scoring 30 points a game. He's not, breaking some statistical record every week like Embiid or Jokic or Giannis. So I think that is the main reason why. I think Karl Anthony Towns being kind of the much improved and less maligned this year player that he is, he's kind of taking away from the fact that Edwards can become the MVP just because Cat's putting up good numbers this year and he's been playing really well. So I think that that's probably the reason why Cat or Edwards is not viewed in the same category as these presumptive MVP candidates like Jokic, which Jokic is just crazy, right? I mean, he's always going to be in the conversation for MVP, I feel like, just because of the statistical dominance. He
We'll
leads.
talk about him in a future video. Don't you worry.
We will talk about him, but I do love what Edwards is doing out there. Who before this season, especially after last season, thought that the Timberwolves would be number one in the West? Everyone was looking at the Timberwolves like, hey, the Gobert trade. What were you
Do you
thinking?
guys remember last year after the Gobert trade? We were pretty high on the Timberwolves. We thought they were going to have a great year. They ended up having a horrendous year. Yeah, we all thought that the Gobert trade was a horrible trade. This year, I think they look a lot more like the team we expected after that trade.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, and Edwards is definitely the key cog. Let's just be honest. But their lineup is full of threats all the way down. Mike Conley, the steadying hand. You've got McDaniels, lockdown defender, and you've got Gobert, the stifle tower, the tallest Frenchman in Minnesota, as Kirby would say. So all I'm saying is, yes, he's hyper talented. I don't know if he'll end up winning MVP this year, even if the Timberwolves are at the top of the West. I think more consideration should go his way, but I think people with voting narrative power will keep guys like Embiid and Jokic at the top, unless there's some kind of a tear that Edwards goes on at the end of the season, which is possible. He could do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. I agree. I also don't think he's probably going to win MVP. I think the real test for him, though, I know this isn't about Gobert, but I think the real test for him is going to be when the playoffs come. And I mean, every time that Gobert has been on a team in the playoffs, a coach comes along and figures out a way to coach him off the floor, spread the floor, get him off the floor. And so if that time comes, Edwards is going to have to step up big time. It's going to be up to him and Cat to carry that team through the playoffs. We'll see about Gobert. He's been asked by the team to guard the perimeter more because that's what they need from him to be able to stay on the floor. And so far, he's done a pretty serviceable job, as evidenced by their defense. But when those teams come along with those floor spacers and those lineups that, really spread the floor and take him out of his comfort zone in the paint, we'll see what Edwards is made of then, I feel like.
it's a very good point. Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see just in general how he responds to adversity too, because so far this season's been pretty easy going for them. And like Colton said, he's not putting up 30, he's not putting up 10 and 10, but he is scoring 26, 5.5 and 5 on a team that can't lose. And to me that says a lot about how valuable he is as a player. The fact is that they would not be in the position they are if not for him. And I think he should be in the conversation. He's not going to win this year, and that's okay. If they somehow made a run through the playoffs and like won a championship, he would be the NBA Finals MVP, and sometimes that's kind of a springboard to that next step. But yeah, I definitely think he's someone everybody should be talking about because he's taken the league by storm, and it's a lot of fun to watch too.
Here's the other thing. He's a two-way player. He plays both ends of the floor. He's got the size, the athleticism to play defense. And I love watching him compete out there. The Timberwolves are the only team in the NBA that is currently giving up less than 110 points per game. They're giving up
Which is
100,
crazy. That's wild.
they're giving up 107 points per game. And a big reason or for that is the pace that the game is played. There's just so many possessions. You're going to score 110 points per game on average just because of how many possessions there are. But the Timberwolves, and that's thanks to every guy up and down the floor on especially their starting lineup, but even a guy like Naz Reid coming off the bench. Edwards is the spearhead, though. Edwards is the guy that makes them go, like what you said, Riley. And so I agree. And this season, if the Timberwolves finish as like a top 2 seed, going into next season, the narrative will be there for Edwards. And the narrative could still be there if he has a crazy explosion, like I said. But if they end up as a high seed and they do well in the playoffs next year, they're going to be like, oh, watch out for Edwards. He's going to be at the top of every watch list along with SGA. And that's going to be something that the league is going to have to take by note or be on notice for. And I think that that's kind of how it goes with this thing is narrative. And what's the narrative right now? All about the dominance of Jokic and Giannis the last like 3 years, and Embiid. That's been the narrative. So the narrative could be changing to these young guards, and Edwards is at the forefront of that.
It would be interesting. I wonder what kind of numbers he'd be putting up on a team that wasn't so stacked and that didn't play such good defense. Like
30.
Yeah, I wonder if he'd be putting up SGA numbers. Not saying that his team isn't also stacked, but you do wonder if because of the defensive focus of their team, that maybe those numbers are a little bit lower than they potentially could be and will be in the next couple of years. He could be a 35-5 guy, maybe even more than that. It's hard to know. Could he put up Luka numbers? I don't know. He's got the bag though, man. He's got all the skills in the bag. His game is pretty to watch. I got the chance to watch him last week against the decimated Memphis Grizzlies team, who put up a good fight against the Timberwolves, but he completely took over in the second half. I think he had 2 points in the first half and like 26 in the second half. Completely took over the game, brought him back, got him the W. He was just unstoppable, getting to the hoop whenever he wanted. And yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch him and Shea go head to head last night, I think. But I hope I get the chance in the future because that is a fun rivalry to watch out for. I hope that those teams meet in the playoffs or in a really meaningful game because that would be super exciting to see those two go head to head, especially with a little bit of a little bit of friction between the two right now. Yeah, they're chattering. The chattering is starting, so it'll be fun. Thanks for watching our pod. We will be back again with more MVP candidate videos. We'll be talking about Jokic. We'll be talking about Giannis. We'll be talking about Embiid. Maybe Doncic. Few others that might go in there. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Right.